So I have Chris Foster here, director of Tethered, and the possible future director of a feature film called Burger Bait. I want you to just kind of introduce yourself and tell me what your new project is about and a little bit of your backstory.
Yeah, so my name is Chris Foster. I'm launching this movie called Burger Bait. We're doing a Kickstarter, and it's about this guy who begins to live stream himself while he's working at Burger Bait. He's working the drive-through. He's working a night shift, and he begins to live stream himself. And as his live stream sort of starts to get more popular, it becomes sort of dangerous if you know about the ins and out of
Yeah.
the live streaming world. And the way that we're going to do it is I'm going to treat my backers, my Kickstarter backers, as if they were investors and producers. I want to do this like no Kickstarter's ever done it. I want to make this the best Kickstarter film that's ever been released, or at least the best campaign of treating my backers not like as if they're just Kickstarter backers, but as if they have real stake in this movie and in this campaign. So things like sending them the script before we even start shooting, and giving them real creative input in what we're doing.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, I think in general that just sounds like a unique concept. I think so many Kickstarters kind of treat their backers as people who are just kind of disposable. They'll give them money and they'll give them maybe a cheap reward. And I think having them as producers seems a little bit more tangible.
Yeah, and I mean, on top of that, some people don't even finish the Kickstarters. Like they have their Kickstarter and it's successful, and then they don't even give you what they promised you, even if it was just a T-shirt or something. So on top
Yeah.
of that, which is I think really interesting, is further treating my backers as if they're producers. Is I want to virtually put these people on set. So if you put in $25 to the Kickstarter, I'm gonna have someone on set live streaming the entire set, 10 hours a night. All of our shoots, to where you'll be able to see everything that's happening. You'll be able to interact with whoever's on set. Every take that we do, everything you'll get to see. And I think no one's ever had that sort of exclusive access into the making of a live or in the making of a movie before. It's sort of like IRL filmmaking.
That's that's very very interesting. Before we go deeper down that rabbit hole, because I do have some really interesting questions for you. Um, let's talk about your first film, Tethered. Uh, Explain to the audience, because I kind of want them to know your backstory. Because I think with a Kickstarter, a lot of times you get these filmmakers that you don't even know their history, and then they're asking for 20 grand, and then you're like, who are you? So kind of tell the people about your first feature film and kind of how you got to this point.
Totally. So up to this point, I've made a couple feature films, all for ridiculously cheap, less than $10,000. And my first movie I made when I was 18 is a movie called Tethered, and we shot it for $2,000. And really, I was living in upstate New York. I just graduated high school. I skipped most days my senior year, and I would just stay home and write Tethered. I would just work on the script nonstop. And at the end of my senior year, after I graduated, after deciding that film school wasn't exactly for me, I even had like a seat at Full Sail in Florida, and I was all set, ready to go there. And at the last minute, I decided that I was just going to make a movie myself, rather than going to film school and working on someone else's movie and coming out with a degree. I thought it would be more beneficial to go out and actually make a movie and learn how to do it myself. And that's what Tethered was. Is I drove to Florida with I didn't know anyone. I had $2,000. I loaded up my car with everything I had and went to go make a movie there. In my parents' house that was not being rented out at the time. And yeah, we just went and shot. We shot in the house for the entire time. Cast and crew stayed there. We shot over a couple of months over weekends. And it was kind of the greatest experience of my life up until that point, honestly. Like, at that point, I didn't even know if I could make a feature film. So I was like, I want to make feature films for a living, but honestly, I don't even know if I can do it. So Tethered was in part that of just like, let's see if I can do this. And we released it. We had it in a couple theaters. It did well in some small film festivals, and really it was just my film school.
And that was really interesting what you said about not knowing if you could do it, because if we go back to 2017, there was a guy by the name of me who was kind of like, I don't know if I can do it either. And I go on the interwebs looking for feature film content, and I saw Tethered, and I was like, okay, this is very interesting just in general. But then he had a behind the scenes sort of featurette that I'll link below. And basically, it takes you through the whole process of how he made the film. And for my first feature film, the one I made before Chlorine, Long Con, this was like my film school Bible. For it was basically, he said $2,000, and I just grabbed two grand with my buddy, and we're like, we're gonna use this. We're gonna go make a movie. And I think that Chris has a very infectious ability to inspire people to make their own films, and I think that that's a really cool thing. And so I definitely would check out Tethered as well as the behind the scenes featurette. But to get back onto Burger Bait, one question I have that I do wonder, how are you going to film it? Because a lot of times these live stream movies, they film it with either like a professional camera or they go like the complete like lo-fi, just the phone route. What are you thinking about doing? And what's your thought process? And then if you're shooting it over multiple days, how are you going to stitch that together? That is a very good question that I think I would love to know.
Yeah, those are great questions. You might have to remind me, but of all of the questions. But first of all, thank you so much for saying that documentary inspired you to make a movie, and the kind words you said. That's why we made it, and that really does mean a lot to me. So how are we going to shoot it? So the way that we're going to shoot it plays a huge part in the distribution model of how we're going to do it. I'm going to release this movie completely for free. It's going to look like a live stream that was filmed a couple days ago, and it's going to come out on Weaver. Weaver is the live streaming platform that Travis, our main character, is live streaming himself on. So people are going to click on, I'm going to just drop a link on Reddit, and the link is going to say Burger Bait employee dies on live stream. Skip to, whatever, it's an hour and 10 minutes to see death. Not safe for work,
Yeah.
People are going to click over to that. It's going to take them to Weaver, and it needs to look exactly as if it's a live stream that was filmed a couple days ago. I'm not treating this like a movie in the traditional sense. We want to shoot it on an iPhone. We want to give the actors a lot of control over the camera in their space. If they're going to move the live stream around, if they want to show something, they're really going to be controlling it. It's not going to be someone, with this huge camera and they're like faking it. It's literally just, I want this to look as much like a live stream as possible, chat scrolling, donations popping up, all of that. So we're going to film it on a phone. And then the other question you asked was,
if you're shooting it over multiple days, how are you going to stitch? Because I remember, so you really like sort of like Hitchcock, sort of like hidden cuts.
right. So like you're saying, like this needs to look like one continuous take. Part of the live streaming platform that he's live streaming himself on is that you can only live stream yourself one time. So users on Weaver can only live stream themselves one time, which I think promotes better content as a social media platform. Like, all right, I only get to live stream one time. What am I going to do to really make this thing pop off? What am I going to do to get the monthly most viewed stream, whatever it is. So the way I'm going to do it is, it's going to be a combination of whip pans. Sometimes the camera falls down. There's going to be lag. Is going to be a big one, lag in the video. He's at a fast food restaurant, so maybe they don't have the best Wi-Fi. But that's going to be some of the ways. But like one of the things that I've had to talk to my crew about is like, we have to figure out how to make, we're shooting for 10 nights. We need to figure out like every single thing continuity wise needs to look the exact same. A smudge on the drive-through window has to be there every single night. And what's crazy is that we're shooting this at an actual restaurant. So like there's going to be people doing their thing during the day, and then we're going to come in at night and we have to make it look the exact same every single night. So that's one of the things that I've told my crew about. I'm like, guys, we got to figure out how we're going to do this, because that's going to be one of the biggest things. It can never change. It has to look like it took place in an hour and a half or whatever it is, right?
That's really interesting. So, what restaurant did you bribe in order to get this project going, or is that part of the Kickstarter convincing a restaurant, or do you have one in mind?
So we do have a restaurant. I can't tell you what restaurant it is. We're
Obviously.
trying to keep as many locations and things like that as secret as possible, because we're going to be live streaming this whole thing. We have to
Yeah.
be very, very careful when it comes to safety. But it's this guy who's super nice, so nice. He's a producer himself. He owns the restaurant, and he was like, "Yeah, I mean, he was just so welcoming and so happy." And when I pitched him the idea in my, like, crackhead pitch that I'm like, yeah, he was really, really excited and really supportive. So like we found the best restaurant, the best owner, and we're gonna be shooting in South Carolina. So it's gonna be very fun. And the movie takes place in the South as well. So it kind of all works together and ties together really nicely.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So another question I have is in terms of the crew and who you have, do you already kind of have like a production team and actors set up? Or is this kind of like once the Kickstarter, you get the funds, then you start building the team?
Yeah, so I have a skeleton crew. I have a lot of the key components picked out. But the reason that I set the Kickstarter at 15,000 is because that's the number that I landed on of the least amount of money that I feel like I could make this for. Um, so I put everything in together, figured it all out, and decided that like 15,000 is the least I can make it for. So there are multiple versions of this movie. If we go over 15,000, that allows us to pay more people. It allows us to fly people in if we need to. So a lot of the people I'm hiring or bringing onto the project are local, so that I don't have to house them, right? That cuts down on costs big time. Um, so I'm only paying key roles right now. I'm paying key actors right now, and a lot of it is going to be, just like on my first couple movies, is working for free. Working for the love of it.
So another question is, if you don't make the money, is this just does this go away, or are you still gonna go with the project? If you let's say you just don't get the 15 grand, what do you do then? Do you retool and try to do another Kickstarter, or do you just plug ahead knowing that you're gonna have to do the low budget version, or do you just work on a different project?
That's a great question. So no matter what, I'm making this thing. I think that this Kickstarter route is the coolest way and most fun way to do it, is being able to bring people on and like they'll watch me make it, which I think is so cool, of having that live streaming aspect on set while we're making it. Like, how is this going to affect me? How is this live stream, like us live streaming the making of the movie, how is it going to affect the final product? I think that's so interesting. Now, let's say we're 15 days in and we've made $50, then, that 30 days, I'm going to be live streaming myself for 12 hours a day, trying to figure, oh, I didn't even mention that. Like in September, I'm going to be live streaming myself 12 hours a day from 12 p.m. to 12 a.m. EST, every single day. So me trying to make this movie, me talking to my therapist, whatever I'm doing, I'm live streaming myself. So if you have questions, you can just ask me straight up, live.
So that means we have to harass Chris as much as we possibly can, at guys. I'm just joking. I'm just joking. I'm just joking. But we should get on there and talk to him about his film and ask him questions about the film, because I think that does inform whether or not you're gonna want to donate or not. So definitely getting on there, I think, and talking to him, he's gonna be giving you sort of an intimate access. Why not? Who else does that?
Yeah, I just want to make myself completely accessible to anyone who's even just on the fence about the Kickstarter. Like, oh, this sounds kind of cool, but I don't know. Like, maybe I'll click on this on the live stream, see what he's doing. Like, I'm happy to talk to anyone. I'd love to just talk about movies if you want to talk about movies. But to answer your question, like, if we're 15 days in, we haven't made anything, I'm just going to be on the phone trying to figure out how to fund this thing outside of Kickstarter. And I think if we don't do Kickstarter, I probably won't, be live streaming myself while we make it. Maybe we'll make like a featurette like we did with Why Not for Tethered. But I would really love to be able to do this project in this way, because if the Kickstarter succeeds, I think that the rest will be so fun and so cool.
Yeah, I think that's really an interesting It's an interesting pitch as well as an interesting call to action because so many people want film school stuff that teaches them how to make a movie. But then you're behind a giant paywall and then you don't know if you're going to get like sort of like a one-on-one access. And I think this, for how low it's going to be in terms of price, 25 or $50, you're getting maybe like a more full access to the actual filmmaker and being able to talk to him and work out, like, you can ask questions, I'm assuming, on the live stream that will inform whether or not, like, you see something like he's directing a shot and then you're like, well, what did you do there? I think that would be really unique perspective to have, is being able to talk to the filmmaker live. Like, I just imagine if I was doing Chlorine and if I was being live streamed, I just imagine people asking me questions, and like the process would definitely be different for me, but it would also be very informative for the audience. And so that's what I really like about it. Burger Bait is definitely a project I'm going to be supporting in some capacity. I think I'm going to be supporting this project tomorrow. So I'm really excited to help Chris out. And I really would hope my audience, specifically everyone who has a little bit of extra, change in their pocket, go out and support him. I think we need independent content. Right now, there is no content that's being made in Hollywood, basically. So why not support someone who is doing something that's going to help the community out?
Absolutely. I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself. And you potentially supporting the project, like you're a producer on Burger Bay, like, I
Yeah.
think that's pretty cool. I'm excited to work with you virtually
Yeah.
to make this thing happen. But I'm just trying to give everything that I possibly can. And people who have these courses, or even like imagine like a 6 hour multi-episode documentary series about the making of a movie. Like, that'd be so cool, right? And then
Yeah.
now think about like 100 hours of seeing
Yeah.
every single thing that happens.
Yeah.
And I'm not standing here teaching you anything. All I'm doing is making a movie, and you're going to watch me fail at some aspects. If the whole project fails, then you guys get to see it live. Like, I think that that's such an interesting aspect of, we're going to be learning this together. We're going to make mistakes, and we're going to try new things, and we're all just going to learn together. I'm not going to teach you anything. We're just going to do it and learn.
Yeah, I think that is just the ethos of what I call the folk filmmaker movement. It's a bunch of guys getting, roughing it. They're taking their cameras out and they're going and they're filming something. And I think this is an infectious way to release a film, is the way I would say. Because I think when you drop a film for free on the internet, there is a certain psychology where the viewer doesn't feel like they have to put in a full investment of money. So then they're more able to kind of like look at it. And I think perfectly with this live stream method, they might be able to skip around. And then I think this film lends itself to multiple different viewings, because someone might jump in at 45 minutes just to see the guy dying on live stream or whatever. And then they might go back and rewatch it and start from the beginning. And I think that that's a unique idea. I think that who comes up with that idea? That's such a unique concept, because you're kind of allowing the audience viewer choice, which is different than I think a lot of films where you just start from beginning to end. And I'm assuming you're going to sort of build it out in a way where if they even start 45 minutes in, it's still engaging to the viewer.
Yep. I mean, dude, you're killing it with this. You know exactly where we're going. So yeah, in the title of the post of when we release it, I'm basically encouraging people to spoil the movie for themselves.
Yeah.
And the way that I've designed it, branching off of that, if the script sucks, this whole thing is just a gimmick. This is
Yeah.
like, not to, talk shit about another movie, but like, Unfriended, like,
Yeah.
a very cool concept, super, nailed it technologically speaking, but maybe the story wasn't that great. I think that as long as the script holds up, then this isn't in that realm. It needs to
Yeah.
be a good story, or this is completely pointless. And one of the things is, I think you were talking about supporting for $50. Like, I get to send you the script before we even make it, and hear notes and get what people think about it. And I think that's a huge aspect of it too, right? Is like, this needs to be a great story.
How flexible are you going to be when you say $50? I've seen a couple other people kind of do like I'll read the script ahead of time. How flexible are you going to be when it comes to like a Patreon, or not Patreon, Kickstarter, sorry, Kickstarter producer? How flexible when you say notes? Are you gonna, if you get like let's say 100 people, are you gonna kind of distill the notes into categories of like 10 people said this sucks, we got to change it, or is it more you're just going to take it on an individual level, or how is that going to be integrated? Like, are you going?
Anyone who reads my script and takes the time to email me notes about the script, I will read your email and I'll respond to each and every person who does so.
Yeah.
And I will consider every single note that I'm given. And you can ask anyone I've ever worked with on a movie that I'm extremely collaborative. I love to hear more ideas. The more ideas, the better. And if your idea is great, I'm absolutely going to use it. So I'm sort of reserving the right to either I could use all of the
You
notes, I could use none of the notes. But at the end of the day, like I have to lead this ship and do what I think is best for the movie to make the best possible thing. But I will consider every single idea with an open mind. And I'm so thankful for anyone who takes the time to even read it, even if they don't send me notes. I'm happy for people to be in the loop about what we're doing, even seeing how it ends.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Last question I think I have before I'm going to sort of start wrapping this up. Basically, is there any sort of pledge or reward where you're going to have people being physically involved with the project as well at a very high tier level? Is that at all?
Yeah. There is an executive level tier to where someone is welcome to even fly out to set. And, you know, I think I said in the Kickstarter, like, hey, you can be an executive producer on this project and fly out, but we're going to put you to work. Like you might be holding the boom pole. You're going to be doing something. Yeah, that being said, though, there's other ones where you can be a virtual producer, even in like, our private Zoom meetings where we're talking about maybe more confidential stuff. You're welcome to come onto those. But I really want to bring the people who do come onto this project, even at the $25 levels, to really get them involved with the project and really be open ideas and get them, involved with the project as a producer would be.
Okay. That is an awesome answer, and I think we're going to wrap this up. So, Chris, give me your last 25-second pitch. Basically, where they can find you, any final things, any pleas to go to your Kickstarter, whatever you have to say it now.
Yeah, so burgerbait.com will take you to the Kickstarter. On social media, you can go to burger_bait on Instagram and Twitter, and I'm doing some fun stuff over there. So you can check those out and subscribe to Dan's Patreon, please, and his channel. Those are my final. Thanks for having me too, Dan. This is really nice of you. I appreciate it.
No problem. And before, also, I saw Chris. You have a new Chris Foster channel. Is that where you're going with things, or no? Because everyone, we got to get that. Like it's at like 8 or 9 or something like right now. We got to get it up. We're gonna. I'm gonna put the link there too, so that everyone can subscribe to his channel. That would be really awesome. Support Chris. He's been a huge inspiration to me in my own film career. I don't even think he knew who I was before this interview, but basically, it's a. I think this is helping someone else out who has helped the community out for a decent amount of time. And I think this is an awesome project to back, and I'm going to be personally backing it. So, everyone, let's help Chris out. And with that, I really appreciate bringing you on the show, and have a great day, man.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you. I really do.